shock, the terror of Werewolf by Night.
Tonight, it is every hunter for themselves.
Good luck. I'll be rotting for you.
But one of you is a monster, masquerading as one of our own. I can't wait to find out what breed of evil you are. You'll wanna see this, darling.
Please don't do this. Death is coming for you!
Werewolf by Night.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel just released their Werewolf by Night trailer. It's got a bunch of Easter eggs. There's even some Loki Easter eggs you probably spotted in there. Like Man-Thing is in this trailer in addition to Werewolf by Night. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. I'll explain how it fits into the MCU, what the timeline is, and what's going on with the whole Grindhouse vibe that they went with for the footage. Like they're making it look like a Grindhouse film, like it's from the 1970s, 1980s, mostly because that's when the character debuted. But for example, we just got done watching the Moon Knight episodes. You may have noticed that they had a bunch of Easter eggs for Moon Knight's first appearance, which was in the Werewolf by Night comics. I'll also explain why they saved Werewolf by Night for this instead of introducing him during the Moon Knight episodes. But if you're brand new to the channel, I will be doing like a full Easter egg video breakdown when they actually do release it October 7th, so be sure to subscribe to get that. After the special, he will cross over into the movies too, maybe during the Blade movie, because it sounds like that might be where Moon Knight shows up next. All of them will eventually show up somewhere in Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty or Avengers 6 Secret Wars 2. So like they're all destined for the movies, all these new ones that they're introducing through Disney Plus series. But if you couldn't tell, the reason why they're calling this a special presentation and they have that special intro is because it's made to be like the special retro intros that you would have seen if you'd actually seen this and they aired it back in the 1970s and 1980s. That's also why it's black and white, and you notice a lot of the film effects that they baked into it, like it's shot on digital like all their Marvel movies and Marvel Disney Plus series, but they added special effects to make it look like it's an old-timey retro film. So like the film burns at the end like a typical Grindhouse film. They also might have some Easter eggs in here for like the classic Universal monster movie films, like the original Werewolf of London movie was the very first time a werewolf was done in live-action movies. You also see some Frankenstein Easter eggs in here too, where you see Ulysses Bloodstone look kind of like a version of Frankenstein with the stitches on his head. Even though they're going with a very retro vibe with this funny Easter egg in real life, you think of Young Frankenstein, like a movie that was done in the 80s where they had a color technology, but Young Frankenstein was done as a black and white movie. So creatively, that's kind of what's going on with this, but it's not meant to be a comedy like Young Frankenstein or anything like that. Like it is meant to be a horror supernatural project in the MCU. But you can see part of the reason why they saved Werewolf by Night for this instead of introducing him during Moon Knight is because it's so much of a horror supernatural vibe. Moon Knight is obviously a very dark character, but the tone of that series just did not feel like a horror supernatural project. This feels like Marvel really trying to do an actual horror movie. But if you couldn't tell just from their costumes, this is meant to take place relatively close to present day. It's not meant to take place in the 1970s as far as I know. The actual plot synopsis that Marvel released reads, "On a dark and somber night, a secret cabal of monster hunters emerge from the shadows and gather at the foreboding Bloodstone Temple." This is the place that you see in all the trailers. Following the death of their leader, Ulysses Bloodstone, this character here that looks kind of like a version of Frankenstein. In a strange and macabre memorial to their leader's life, the attendees are thrust into a mysterious and deadly competition for a powerful relic, a hunt that will ultimately bring them face to face with a dangerous monster. Now, you could take your pick as to what that's a reference to, but they mostly want you to be thinking about the dangerous monster that is the Werewolf by Night. But like you also have Man-Thing in the trailer here, obviously a very dangerous character as well. The actual main villain of the series is going to be a character called Varanki. This person here, it's not somebody from the comics, they created them new for the series, so we'll see what's going on with them when we get more trailers. And when I mentioned this takes place at Bloodstone Manor, Laura Donnelly here plays Elsa Bloodstone, like the latest in their family of hunters. She becomes the inheritor of the jewel that gives their family their name, gives them their abilities. It sounds like the crazy game of death that they teased they're playing during the trailer, all these hunters are playing for this special artifact. It is the Bloodstone itself, and Elsa will wind up winning it. Gael Garcia Bernal is playing Jack Russell, aka the Werewolf by Night. You see him a couple times during the trailer transforming and inside this cage. Also attacking these TVA agents, just ripping them to shreds. RIP TVA agents. Really curious to see what the connection to Loki is. Like, who are they pruning? Are they trying to prune the werewolf? Is something else going on here that they're trying to prune? It does raise a lot of questions about the actual timeline with Loki Season 2. I've already done a bunch of Loki Season 2 first look videos. We got a couple of scenes so far that I've already broken down, so I'll put links for those in the description below. Just like Elsa Bloodstone's family carries the Bloodstone through each generation, Jack Russell was born a werewolf because of what his grandfather did with Dracula back in Transylvania. So Dracula is a Marvel character. Like, there's a version of Dracula. You see him in all the Moon Knight memes. Like, talk about Werewolf by Night, Moon Knight connections. Dracula is also one of the classic Universal monster movie characters. His grandfather got into a fight with Dracula and was given the bite by one of the werewolves that Dracula was keeping captive, and then just passed it on through the generations to Jack Russell. The connection to Moon Knight is that eventually this evil group called the Committee comes after Werewolf by Night, and they hire Moon Knight to go kill him. Eventually they become friends, obviously, then Moon Knight turned good, but that was like the first time they introduced the Moon Knight character. Later when they brought him back, they kind of retconned in an origin story for Moon Knight that we saw during the Moon Knight series. It's one of those examples of Marvel introducing what they thought would be a one-off character, but then he blows up in popularity, so they try to retcon in a huge backstory for him. That's how we got Werewolf by Night before Moon Knight. Like, oh, you like this Moon Knight character? Okay, we'll publish some more Moon Knight comics. Within Marvel Comics history, he's mostly been a good character using his powers as a werewolf to fight other evil supernatural characters or be on supernatural teams. He's even part of Marvel's Legion of Monsters, which they might wind up working up to in the MCU. Like, they could potentially do that, but there are a couple other characters you would need to do that. But like, we just got Man-Thing, so like, they're clearly filling out the roster of MCU monster-based characters. If you're not a longtime comic book reader, Man-Thing also one of the big monsters inside Marvel Comics. He's kind of like their version of Swamp Thing, but interesting to note, he actually debuted in the comics a little while before DC's Swamp Thing. So technically Man-Thing predates Swamp Thing, even though Swamp Thing became a much more popular character. The big difference with Man-Thing, though, is that he's a much more supernatural bent character, like he shows up in much more Doctor Strange type magical stories. He also winds up becoming the guardian of the nexus of all realities, the place in the What If series where the Watcher's original base used to be. The trailer kind of plays it as if Jack Russell, Werewolf by Night, is an uninvited guest, but during this contest that they're having, they're actually trying to find Man-Thing and capture him. One of the big twists behind Man-Thing's powers, and I think we see a version of this happening in the trailer, he's attracted to anyone experiencing great emotion, but if that emotion is fear, then they will burn at the touch of the Man-Thing. And you see a couple of people seem like they catch on fire during the trailer. Man-Thing's real name is Dr. Ted Sallis. He was transformed into Man-Thing after he injected himself with his special super soldier serum derivative. Talk about Captain America Easter eggs, more derivatives of the super soldier serum. We've been seeing a lot of those in the MCU recently. Then after he ran afoul of AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, their big villain group in the comics that we've seen a little bit of in the MCU. We might see them again in future MCU projects. He winds up crashing his car into a mystical swamp, and the combination of the mystical swamp and the super soldier serum transforms him into Man-Thing. Like Werewolf, he tries to use his powers for good, and it does seem like there's some kind of misdirect happening in the trailer, like they're there to capture Man-Thing, but then Jack Russell transforms into Werewolf by Night during the ceremony, and they go after him, but Werewolf by Night and Man-Thing eventually work together to free themselves, with the help of Elsa Bloodstone. I think part of the idea with these brand new MCU monster-based characters in Elsa Bloodstone is that even though she comes from this long line of monster hunters, she'll see that their good characters eventually take mercy on them and they'll eventually work together in future projects. Just to address the Time Variance Authority, the TVA agents, and everything that happened during Loki in Loki Season 2, because the TVA agents are here and everything seems normal, this might be happening sometime during the events of Loki Season 1 or maybe just before it. Hopefully Marvel will clarify that when we get a little bit closer about where exactly it takes place in the timeline, but it might jump around in the timeline a little bit as they explain his origin story. Because we saw a couple of Werewolf by Night Easter eggs during Moon Knight, we also might see some Moon Knight Easter eggs during the Werewolf by Night special. Like all the glyphs in this room here could be a connection to all the Egyptian mythology from the Moon Knight series. I'm assuming some of these pictures also tell the history of the Bloodstone's family as monster hunters. Like looking at some of the pictures here, it looks like a depiction of ancient monsters within the line of their family that they've gone after. Talk about classic Universal monster movies, this one actually looks like the creature from the Black Lagoon on the far left here. There's a whole bunch going on during this trailer, so if you did spot some cool Easter eggs or references that I didn't mention in the video, just write them below in the comments. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more questions about this, and we'll get more footage as we get a little bit closer, but we wanted to wait that long before they actually release the special. I'm sure a bunch of casuals who are just stumbling upon this will be like, what is going on? Why is it black and white? I don't understand. I'm sure before it comes out, Marvel will have some sort of prompt or something to prepare you for how different it's going to look. Like, this is why we made it look so retro. Personally, I think it's going to be pretty cool, and it's just meant to be a one-off, so it's like a pretty quick one-and-done deal. Then after that, Marvel will probably reveal what their plans are for him in his next big project. But like I said, I think that Marvel does have plans for a larger, more supernatural horror type of team-up. Marvel released a bunch more footage, trailers, and announcements for a whole bunch of projects. I will do videos for all that stuff. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. My next big video will be my House of the Dragon Episode 4 video, so I'll try to get to the rest of the big Marvel announcements and trailers next week. Everyone click here for my Secret Invasion trailer video, and click here for my Mandalorian Season 3 trailer video and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.